Ladies, gentlemen, welcome to another Both Sides podcast episode. Today we're actually in the Ipswich Greater region. We're here with Jordan Strudwick, the founder and director of Strud Property. Welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for having me, lads.
You're welcome.
Now, what's really been interesting for me is you came onto my radar about a year and a half ago on Instagram, and ever since then, you've been blowing up and blowing up and blowing up. You've expanded so much, and not only have you expanded, whenever I've seen companies expand, there's a lot of hate around a company. So even for example, Manor, there'll be hate towards the brand itself because of the growth, but there's something different with you where Strud is held in a very high regard across the state. So when we were on the Gold Coast, I spoke to a few agents and they asked, hey, who are you interviewing up in Queensland this week? And we explained who we're talking to, and a lot of the guys said, oh my gosh, Jordan Strudwick, no way. Like, he's a super, super cool cat.
I can't pay them to say that.
Yeah, that makes sense. Makes sense. So, mate, you've off camera, you've also explained a very, very interesting backstory and life story that really intrigues me, of how you were brought up in a particular life, then were able to supercharge a business and at the same time create a level of respect within the industry I actually really haven't seen much before. So can we start off with when you were born, really?
Yeah. I was born in 1992. It's actually my birthday this Saturday.
Congrats.
Happy birthday.
Thank you. 32. I feel like I'm going on 50.
The grey hair's not coming out yet. You're fine. You're good.
The last 3 years has aged me a little bit. But yeah, I was born in Brizzy. My dad came over here from the Philippines when he was young. My mum had me when she was 17. When mum turned 19, so I was 2 years old, dad went to jail for armed robbery. So he was a pretty bad cat, like my real dad. And I've got a lot of family members that are kind of from that side of the tracks. And then I moved, grew up in Ipswich my whole entire life. Had like three people. A little 3-bedroom, 1-bathroom house with like myself, my brother, my 2 cousins, Vanessa, my head of property management, you've met before, and my mum, my dad, and my uncle. So it was like 7 of us in this 3-bedroom house. And didn't grow up with we had a great life, man. Like, my parents did an awesome job. My dad taught me, like, my stepdad, Jason, that's where his last name's Strudwick, so I've got my stepdad's last name. He taught me hard work, and I had to be really resilient, I guess, to get to where we've got to today. My real name's not even Jordan, actually.
Really? What's your real name?
My real name's Bossy. Yeah.
Bossy.
Yeah. And my real name's Bossy Tonito, not Jordan Strudwick.
So what happened there? How did you deal with trauma with being through different family lives? And in not a nice area too.
Yeah, I think you kind of learn to adapt and become a bit of a chameleon, right? You have to adapt to certain situations. I think, I guess the big thing for me, I don't ever feel sorry for myself. I am where I am, and all the pain and all the things that I've been through in my life have got me to who I am today. And I think that's a big problem with a lot of people. They victimize themselves, and they feel sorry for themselves, but it's like, bruh, life's happening, for you, not to you. You know what I mean? But yeah, I don't know, man. I think I've always been a really protective kind of person. So I kind of look at Strud like not like a gang kind of thing. Do you know what I mean? Sounds weird, but one thing that I learned from my family, even though they were rough, they always protected their own. Everyone was always very protective of each other. And I learned at a really young age to, the importance of family and looking out for each other.
Yeah. Why real estate, man?
So I started real estate 7 years ago. I was a car salesperson before that. So before I was a car salesperson, I was like a car cleaner. I was 21 years old, cleaning cars. I didn't even know that I could speak or anything like that. I was, at a dealership 15 minutes from here. And then I remember at the time I hit up my CEO, and I'm like, hey man, I want a job like selling cars. And he's like, dude, you're like a car cleaner, like, you know, what are you doing? And I was reading the book How to Make Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie. Bomb book. I don't know if you boys read it, but great book. And I ended up saying to the CEO, I said, hey man, like, listen, I'll work for free every weekend till you give me a job. So I did that. I worked for free for like 4 months. And then after 4 months, I ended up being the number 2 out of like 25 salespeople in the dealership, which was pretty cool. And everyone was like, oh, you know, it's just luck, beginner's luck, this, that. And I'm like, bro, like, just you keep talking. I'm going to keep going and keep winning, right? I'm super competitive. And then at 25, I tried to start a business like wholesaling cars. That didn't go too well. I ended up like in negative 50 grand worth of debt. And then I like was in that kind of lost stage. I was like 25 and I was like Googling like jobs you can make heaps of money and help people. And real estate, like there was like doctor, dentist, surgeon, and like real estate was like number 7 there. So at the time I joined up with my uncle who was in real estate, and I did some work experience with him and just kind of like never looked back from it.
Cool. So talk about how, like, you in 3 years, you've gone from having an office space of only, a few square meters to now buying a building on 900 square meters right next door to where we are right now, and having 53 staff. How have you done that within 3 years?
At 31 years of age.
31 years of age.
I don't know after time, boys. I don't know. I think, you know, the big thing, like a lot of people will ask me, you know, how do you do this? You know, how do you do these things? And I think it's just one day at a time, man. Like I have this long-term vision for the next decade. Like I believe that Strud can be one of the most influential brands within the country, especially in Queensland. And I know that if I just get in every single day and give it my best, things are going to happen. One lesson I got back in the day when I was like selling cars, I remember there was this dude, his name was Rusty. And he was like, he kind of taught me, he came in like always buying Toyota Prados cash, old farmer. And I said to him, I was like, what's the secret to getting successful, Rusty? And he was like, Jordan, he's like, all you've got to have in this world is big balls. Can I say that on this side?
Yeah, of course.
And it always just stuck with me, you know what I mean? And like, and I just had the courage to have a crack after that at everything I've done. Like, I think, everyone sees success and all this type of stuff, but it's like, man, it's just, you've got to, like, you have the fear and you just got to do it anyway. Do you know what I mean? Like, I'm constantly afraid. Like, I was afraid before I came in here today, just to be honest, right?
Really?
You wouldn't think it. Do you know what I mean? Like, you wouldn't think it when you listen to me speak, but, I'm afraid because it's important to me, right? Like, this is an opportunity for us to potentially get Strud out there to the world on an awesome platform, but have the fear and do it anyway. Do you know what I mean? Like, I think a lot of business owners, probably what I learned with business ownership is that like everyone wants to act like they know what they're doing. Like the truth is, when I speak to people at the highest level, and I'm sure it's different on and off podcast, but I'll just be real with you guys. Like you speak to these people that you think, holy crap, like this guy is like this crazy, and you're just like, this dude's just a dude, and this dude's just a person. He's just having a go. It's not, and I think old school methodology was like, oh, I've got all the answers, I know everything. But I think this day and age, it's like, being open, being vulnerable, and just being like, hey, like we're all on this journey. There's enough bread out there for everybody, and let's all go get it. You know what I mean?
It's so problem solving on the fly, isn't it?
Oh, bro.
From my experience.
Yeah, 100%.
Now, who mentored you or who gave you the idea to expand so quickly? Because that would have been a very, very daunting, scary thought, especially when you've just started off in an industry. You've been in the industry for 4 years before you started Strud.
7 years all up. Yeah.
So 4 years before you started Strud. So who mentored you to actually do that or push that envelope that quick?
It just kind of happened. Like when we started Strud, so I got to the point in my life where I kind of like to be honest, I just fallen out of love with real estate, right? Like I was sick of the grind. I was just running like a dog, and I'm like, what am I even doing? I was looking at myself in the mirror. I wasn't like a good person. And I met my now wife, Yana, and mother of my son and daughter on the way. And
congratulations.
Thank you. And she's the absolute best thing that ever happened to me, right? She changed my life, and she helped me find kind of who I was again. Because I started real estate to help people and try to find a job where you can make money, but also help people. But then all of a sudden it just became kind of all about the money. So when I started Strud, I think in 2019, just before that, like I was selling 102 houses a year. Like this is before the boom. Average house price is like 400. I was running my EBU of 4 people. 102 deals in the year. I think 120 listings. You know, biggest listing months were like 20, 22. Like pump. This is back in the day too. So like that back in the day, that's
What's GCI is that roughly?
I was 1.2. Oh, 1.2 back in like 2019, 2020 kind of thing. Before Strud. And
that's like double now.
Yeah. It's like the equivalent. Like I think like $1 million rider now, like a $2 million rider back then. Do you know what I mean? But when I started Strud, I remember I kind of just had this like epiphany and like a bit of a to be honest, it was like a bit of a mental breakdown, right? Like
mental breakdown.
Yeah, when I started Strud, like I just like completely lost who I was. Do you know what I mean? Like you get so caught up in the ego of real estate and I'm a number one agent and I'm this and I'm that, and it's like, bruh, you're like, your mum doesn't give a shit your mum doesn't care if you sell 100 houses a year. Your wife sure as hell does not care if you do 100 deals a year. Your brothers, your sisters, all that type of stuff. Like, and I think for me, when I met my wife, like I learned that I wanted to just be a good role model for all the people that were around me, you know? And I think that's why kind of Strud has grown to what it is today. So when we started Strud, it was just myself, my wife, and I had one employee, Tom Fox, who's now a lead agent. He'll do between 600 and 800 GCIs first year out as a lead agent, which is cool. And it's just about to buy his first house, which is awesome. So I think that's another thing at Strud. Like we'll always have pathways for everyone. Like it's not just like, hey, come in and write GCI. It's like, cool. You want to buy a house, you want to buy investments. Like what's your actual life path, and are you happy? Do you know what I mean? Like that's the important part. So when I started Strud, I just wanted to do like 30 deals a year. I remember I like had a bit of a mental breakdown, and I was like, you know what? Stuff this. I said to my wife, I just want to do 30 deals a year. We had 3 properties at the time. We were renovating and flipping, and I'm like, you know what? We've got enough. Like we definitely weren't rich, but we had enough. And I'm like, you know what? I just want to wind back and spend time, with her, start a family. So like literally we started Strud. I left my old job the 8th of October. We started trying to launch the brand on the 22nd of November. And I found out I was going to be a dad the same day.
Whoa.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah. It was wild.
That's a wild day,
It was wild. It was
You would have woken up the next day going, what just happened?
I woke up and I was like, will they take me back where I used to work?
Really?
Oh man, like, cause like you're gonna be a dad now, right? You're like, what the heck? Like, I need security. I need security. I had it all. Like I had an office. I was selling. I was making more money than I'd ever made before. I actually posted something on my Instagram story the other day. Like I paid myself my first commission last week for the first time in 3 years.
I saw that.
Yeah, for the first time in 3 years.
I saw that.
In my last 6 months at my previous job, I made more than what I'd actually physically paid myself at Strud in the last 3 years in 6 months. Do you know what I mean? Like it's just, and people see the business owner thing and it's like, it's great. And obviously we own a asset, you know what I mean? All the money goes back into the company, but it's not like, hey, we're doing, 8 million GCI. It's not like, hey, you keep $8 million as a business owner. You've got agents, all of these types of things to pay. But back to your story. Sorry, I'm rambling a little bit. I do that here and there.
Love it.
I wanted to sell 30 a year, and that was my ambitions. Like I was like, I just want to sell 30 a year. Like I remember quitting to my previous employer, and I'm like, hey, like I just want to wind back. Like I'm so grateful for the opportunities I've had, but I just want to be done. Like I just want to go do my own thing. Started with Urban X. I don't know if you know Urban X.
Yes.
Started with them, and I'm still with them now. They're great, and
that was a viewer question, actually.
yeah, they're great, and they helped us with our branding and all of that type of stuff. And I was just like, you know what, I'll do 30 deals a year and just cruise. And then when I left, kind of my phone just started ringing and people started calling me and being like, hey, I want to come to Strud. And I'm like, hey, I don't want that. I'm not interested in that. And probably a really big pivotal moment. My old general manager, she's actually retired now, and I'm still really close with her. She's coming to our Christmas party this week. She was where I previously worked for 5 years, for 4 years, sorry. And she called me out of nowhere, and I wasn't crazily close with her in the previous business, but she called me and she's like, hey, I want to come work for you. And I'm like, nah. I was like that's gonna start something. Like I just don't want, like that's just not me. Like I'm not down for a fight. I don't want it. Like I won't back down, but I'm not like out looking for a fight or anything like that. I think real estate's very like that, like a lot of bullyish things, you know? And then I remember she said to me like after a couple of days of chatting, and I'm like, oh, I don't know, like I don't even know if we really need, you know, you to come in that space. So she used to do kind of like a lot of the operations in the business that I used to work in. And then she pretty much kind of just put the ultimatum on me, and she just said, hey, listen, I'm either going to you or I'm going to this other company. I don't care what you pay me, but I'm either going to you or I'm going to to one of our other competitors. And she's like, she was on 6 figures at the time. She was like, just pay me half. Just pay me 50% of my wage. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Insane. Yeah. Super grateful. Like I think about it now, like super grateful for the people that have like believed in me and wanted to come on this journey. So yeah, she came over, cut her pay in half. And yeah, then, you know, she helped us build this thing for a year or 2 years. Her name's Fee. Thanks, Fee, if you're listening. And then, yeah, so then she came over. And then when she came over, when I first left, a lot of people were like, hey, where are we going? And I'm like, bruh, like, nah, we're not going anywhere. You've got to stay like in that other place. And then another one of their agents who was running like $500,000 years, like a good mate of mine, Corey Martin, he's been one of my good mates since we were like 19. We met at a festival when I jumped off a wheelie bin and we became mates. When I was like 19 years old. And then we weren't that kind of close because I went through this really kind of like arrogant stage where I just kind of thought I was better than everybody else. And like, I think when you go through things like that, you learn like who's truly there for you, right? Like you can get so caught up in this world of Rolexes and money and all this type of stuff. But like really when it all comes out in the wash, like who's going to be standing by you, you know what I mean? And then Corey just started talking to me like every day when I left. And I was like, man, I haven't been talking to this dude much. Like he's one of my closest mates, but we'd kind of drifted a little bit. And we're actually speaking about it on the phone this morning on the way in here. And he just said, he's like, hey bro, he's like, listen, I'm either leaving where I'm currently at and I'm going to somewhere else or I'm coming to Strud. And he's like, will you take me? And I was like, yeah, you can come over to Strud. And I'd got him into real estate in that previous company 7 years ago. And I think that's one thing that I've learned very well with Strud. And like you ask, how have I grown to 53 staff? And like, I've got a lot of loyalty out there, man. Like you wouldn't, yeah. Like I've got people out there that would run into a burning building if I was in danger. And it's because I don't think a lot of people realize in these businesses how much pull certain people have in businesses. Do you know what I mean? And it's really important that you keep all of your key leaders very loyal and you look after them. You know, like I look after my team. You know, my CFO started here 6 months ago and he's like, Jordan, I've never seen someone look after a team the way that you do. Like you should probably start being a bit selfish and trying to keep some more money for yourself. I'm like, bro, it's all good. Money will come. You know, money will come. You know, it's just look after people and it'll all come out of the wash.
So did the ambition to do 30 deals first year change once you started to realize, hey, I've got this loyalty bank built up and I've got a kid on the way? Like, how did it progress?
Yeah, I think probably what changed was like the belief of like, what is this? Like, what is this Strud? I still feel like that now, man. Like people look at Strud and it's like, oh, you're doing 300 million in sales a year and it's like insane. And it's just like, I don't even believe it a lot of the time. But I know that we've got something special. Like, you know, we've got really good people. We've got great values built into this business. So to answer your question, it kind of just happened over time. Maybe it might have been.
How many deals did you do that first year?
That first year,
roughly.
Yeah, I think we wrote 1.5 in that first year total, and we did I don't know, it might have been like 70, well, it might have been 80 transactions, and then that second year we went from 1.5 to 2.8, and that might have been 160, and then last financial year we did 5.4. And I don't know, it might be 300 transactions, and then this calendar year, I think we've written 8 mil or something like that, and we've sold 416 homes and listed 500 something. Like, insane,
That's wild, bro.
Man, tripping.
That is so crazy to think that within three and a bit years you've been able to do this at such a young age, and it's an inspiration to see someone at this age going through that trauma and then being able to supercharge and super succeed like this. And it's also very inspiring when you took us for a tour around your office. Everyone had a smile on their face. Yeah. We walked past a couple of offices where there was one person in there. You say, hey. They'd be like, hey, Jordan. It seemed like everyone loved you. Yeah. Just like everyone loved you the people that didn't even work in your company. So it seems like the recruitment play for you was just being yourself.
Just be a good cat, man. Like just be a good person. Like it's not hard. Like, you know what I've seen. As much as I say I don't know what I'm doing, like I've got a decent idea, right? I've sat at the table with some of the smartest business people you can imagine, and I've seen like some people where it's genuine, some people where it's a facade. Like there's a lot of facades in this game, and you know the way that I see it, it's like it's all well and good to be good to people when you know you're getting something out of them. Do you know what I mean? But be good to people when you're not getting something out of them. Just be a decent human. Do you know what I mean? It's not hard, you know. Like I'm the type of person, if I'm walking around the beach in the morning, hey, how are you? Like, you know, if I see an old lady, which sounds like great example. The other day I'm driving and I'm.
What car do you have?
Got a Range Rover.
Nice.
And I'm driving and I see this lady at this bus stop and she's like in hysterics, like just crying. And I'm at Palm Beach. She's like, I just drove past and I'm like, don't do it, Jordan, don't do it. I'm driving. And then I was like, oh, I'm gonna do it. So I turned around, put my window down at the bus stop, looked at her, I said, hey, doll, I said, are you okay? And she just looked at me with like tears in her eyes and she's like, yeah, I'm okay. I was like, are you sure? And she's like, yeah, thank you so much for stopping. I said, do you want a bottle of water? And lucky she said no, because I didn't have a bottle of water in the car. But it's just stuff like that, man. Like just be decent, man. Like everyone's going through things, everyone's going through struggles. And you know, like you asked earlier about like, you know, trauma and all these types of things, like I don't feel sorry for myself for trauma that I've been through. Like I've been through and seen more shit in my life than than like a lot of people can probably imagine, right? But it's all made me, you know, who I am today. You know, I said I was only talking to my cousin the other day. So like my nanny, she's in hospital. She went into hospital last week. She had a brain bleed just out of nowhere, right? Like just brain bleed. She's 80 years old, out of nowhere, and like she's part of the reason. Like I think life comes down to these defining moments, right? And she's part of the reason that I am kind of who I am today. And I remember my grandmother. So I have like my grandma, and then I got like my mum, and then my auntie. So Vanessa, who's my head of property management, her mum was my auntie and my mum's sister, and she passed away at 33. So tripping actually. She passed away at 33 from breast cancer. My granddad passed away at 33, my real granddad, and I'm 33 next year. So hopefully.
Wow. Hopefully it'll be sweet.
You're all right.
Hopefully I'll be sweet. But I remember when my auntie passed away, and so like tell you guys a story. So like I remember when my auntie passed away. My auntie was the most inspiring person that I've ever met in my life. Like, and you could just, I was actually listening to a song this morning, trying to think of her on the way in here. And when she was 21, she became like a receptionist at a plastic bag company. By the time she was 25, she was the CEO of that company. By the time she was 30, she had 14 investment properties and she was a millionaire.
Wow.
My auntie, little lady from the Philippines, came over when she was 9, and she was just a boss, man. Like just calm, always calm. Like I don't have that. She was always just calm, cool, collected. And then, yeah, like not suddenly, but like, yeah, she passed away from breast cancer at 33. Wow. She had 14 properties. Some kind of things happened within our family, which I won't go into, but all of the properties then were gone. So like all the everything was kind of gone. And I remember when my auntie passed away, like what she showed me was like something like it's possible, right? Like we're from nothing, but it's possible. And I remember when just like it might have been the day after my auntie passed away, I remember my nanny was like just crying. So there was like this little shrine, and my nanny was like just crying. Obviously just lost her daughter, 33 years old. And I remember I went up to my grandma and my nanny, and I put my hand on her shoulder and I just looked her in the eyes and I just said, Nanny, don't worry. Like I got us. I got the family. We're all good. I was 14 years old. You know, now I've got my brother probably hopefully joining the business soon. I've got my cousin running our property management who grew up in that same house. I've got my other cousin who's one of our lead agents. I've got my mum at the back there, you know, doing all the finances. You know, I look after my whole family now, which is
very family oriented business.
And like all the agents that are in this business, like Corey, been mates with him since I was 19 years old. Terrence, who's one of my other agents, I've known him since I was in grade 8. You know, Toby, who's my marketing business partner, I've known him since he was 15 years old, doing work experience with me when I first started as a real estate agent. Like, you know, it doesn't even feel like work. Like, we're all so well connected within this crew. But yeah. Anyway, sorry, I went on a bit of a tangent there, boys.
I love that. You've created a high level of success for yourself. How have you kept yourself grounded? Because you said you've seen some ego in yourself.
Yeah.
Then you've come back. You're very grounded now.
Yeah.
Does this come back to your wife, or is this something else?
I think of a lot of it's your wife, but I think, like I was thinking about it on the drive here, like I don't think I was ever a man until I met my wife. Do you know what I mean? Like she made me a man. Do you know what I mean? She taught me that I can be kind, but I can be powerful, right? It's not, it's, before it was all blah, 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 Jordan this, you know, like just so loud and obnoxious. And that was like my persona, but it's like, you don't have to be that. You can be whoever you want to be every single day you wake up, you know, you choose. But grounded wise, like I'll meditate. I've got a mindset coach. He's fantastic. Yeah. So I'll catch up with him every Monday. So it kind of just sets me for the week.
What type of stuff does that involve?
So like meditation, like a bit of breath work, just really trying to like simplify my life. Cause like, it is hectic, right? Like I have 53 staff and transacting, you know, I think this month we're like 70 listings. Like there's things happening everywhere. Like I wish I could be like, yeah, it's just cruisy, but it's not. There's a lot of things happening. But with him, he just focuses a lot more on like, are you looking after Jordan the human? So for example, every Friday morning, non-negotiable, I'll take my son swimming, right? Now, if I miss that actually, the ROI on me missing the ROI on me taking my son swimming is actually super high because that looks after like my mental well-being. Do you know what I mean? So I feel like once you start kind of hitting these levels, it's more focusing on all the small things because all those small things will add up into big things, right?
Yeah. Have you seen it in your own life when you haven't looked after the small things and it's burnt you?
Yeah, 100%.
Can we go into that? Can we talk about a situation that might have happened?
Yeah, like a great example, when we were trying to settle this building, probably we bought this building, we couldn't afford to buy the building at the time when we bought it. And I remember, like I was just working like a dog, man. Like just working, like just you nearly forget, like you're just going. It's like you're like in just beast mode. And yeah, I remember we were going through immense stress. And I remember Noel was like 4 months old, and I remember one day like this lady like had a customer complaint. Love to say I don't get any customer complaints, but you know when you're selling 400 houses a year, there's going to be a complaint here and there. And you know this lady was pretty angry on the phone, and I hung up the phone, and my wife said, I can't believe she just spoke to you like that. And I'm like, yeah. And then I remember pulling over on the side of the road and just crying. I was like just crying. Yana my wife was crying. Noah was there in her arms, like 4 months old. And I was like, I don't know what are we gonna do? Like I don't know how we're gonna get through this. And long story short, we ended up moving into this and renting it for like 3 months, and then we ended up settling on it after. This has gone really deep.
You moved into here to live?
No. Oh, no. To lease. Yeah, to lease for like 3 months. And like I think what I've learned is that even when there doesn't seem like there's light at the end of the tunnel, there's always light, man. Like you've just got to find it. And I think like I've been like when I was younger, when I was like 19, 20, like I went through like full blown like depression, like next level depression. So I think, getting through that when I was young, it kind of just showed me like, hey, like I can kind of get through everything. You know what I mean? Because I think, and that's why within Strud, I'm a very, very big advocate for just speaking about mental health. Do you know what I mean? Like I had six mates commit suicide in a 12-month period when I was 19 years old.
Sounds like mental health practice and awareness is pretty important to you. Circling back to Kevin's original question about what was that change from ego to being more grounded, were there anything else that facilitated that journey?
I think just like, yeah, my wife, like, I don't know, I give all credit in the world to my wife, man. She's the best. She's the best. Never lets me get too big for my boots. Still yells at me if I need to be yelled at, just tells me how it is. The team here always joke around because I can get pretty antsy sometimes when like people aren't doing their job, that type of thing. I'm nice, but pretty antsy. And if she yells at me or something, the team will be like, that's so funny. Like no one ever speaks to you like that. But, I think that's where I'd be, just keeping me grounded and just understanding like my values, right? So my values are respect, integrity, courage, humility, and growth, right? As well as our rich G, complete accident too, by the way, which is insane. And that's the same values that we have here at Strud. And I just live my life like that. You know, I live my life by my values. So like, you know, am I being humble enough? And like great example in real estate, that's difficult, right? Because you want to be open and talk about all the things that you're achieving, but like you don't want to like go kind of too over the top. Are you always having respect for people? You know, if I'm willing to say something behind someone's back, I'll say it to their face. That's you know, I live my life like that. You know, I think before that I was very, you know, real estate's like, man, it's all bitchy. Everyone's got something to say about someone. You know what I mean? Like for me, I never talk about anybody because when I started this company, I had a lot of people saying a lot of shit about me and I didn't like it and it wasn't very nice. You know what I mean? And it's very good. It's all good to say some shit, but when you're the person who's getting spoken about and things are getting said that aren't real,
sucks.
It sucks, you know? So back to Kev's question, yeah, I think just being in your values, you know? I think that's really, really important.
Let's say, for example, you see one of your staff members struggling mentally. What would you do?
Just make sure that they're sweet. So like, I had it yesterday. I literally had it yesterday. One of my girls called me in hysterics. So like, absolute hysterics. I've never even heard her crying like this before. She's been here for 2 years, and she did a letterbox drop in her area. Yeah, this is like insane. She did a letterbox drop in her area, and she got called in for an appraisal from the letterbox drop. And then the dude got her in, so she got her pack and all of that type of stuff. And then he got her in, she knocked on the door with her pack and everything. And then he threw all the junk mail at her and said, "It says no junk mail," and slammed the door in her face.
What?
Can you imagine that, bro?
Wow.
What?
Oh, what a dick. Honestly.
Yeah, that's not nice.
And I think the funny thing is, like, I think back to being, like, I think you mature over time. So back in the day, I was like, I'm going to call him and get angry. Like, what is that going to do as a business owner? Like, it's just nothing. Do you know what I mean? And she called me in hysterics, and I just said to her, I said, hey, listen, if he's doing that to you, can you imagine how shit of a life this dude has? Do you know what I mean? Like, if he has the time to do that to you. And I just said to her, I said, hey, listen, take a breath. Everything's going to be okay. You've survived 100% of your darkest days. You are exactly where you're meant to be. And everything's all gravy. Take
All gravy.
Yeah, it's all gravy. It's all gravy, baby. You know what I mean? Like,
It's all gravy, baby.
Every day is a new day. You know what I mean? So
How did you get through? You said you were, you know, you've seen some stuff that people will never experience, and you were in a very, very bad state when you were younger. How did you pull yourself out of that? Did you seek help? Did you have friends, support, anything like that?
I don't know, man. You're a kid. You don't know. Like I've got like memories of my dad. Like, you know, when I remember being like 10 years old. I know my real dad used to like tell my mum he was gonna like come and kill me and shit. You know, you imagine that.
What?
Imagine you're like 10 years old and your dad's like, hey, you know, I'm gonna come take you to heaven. Like, imagine that shit.
That's heavy.
Yeah, and I remember times in my life, like literally scared of my life, like literally sleeping on my mum and dad's floor. It all sounds victimy, and I don't like. That's why I don't talk about it. You know what I mean? It just is what it is. You know, if I didn't go through all this shit,
though.
yeah, if I didn't go through all this shit, I wouldn't be who I am today. You know, and yeah, I remember him saying that type of stuff, and I remember like, you know, we grew up on like 2 acres. So I remember like, you know, my stepdad Jason always protecting us. Like he had all these floodlights set up. It's like Have you watched a movie like I Am Legend?
Yeah.
It was literally like that, like insane. So I had all these floodlights at the front. I'd sleep on my mum and dad's floor, and I did that for a long time, you know, maybe a month or something like that, until it all kind of calmed down. So you ask, how do you get through all of that type of stuff? Like, I think, you know what I learned at a really young age, and it might sound sad, is that like you're truly alone, right? Like you're truly alone. Like you can have all these people around you and this and that, but the only person who's going to pick you up off the ground is you. I mean, no one's coming to save you, man.
You got to do the work yourself.
100%. You know, and you can sit down and you can be all sad about this and sad about that. Like I had that. I grew up in a house. I had heaps of food. You know, I grew up in a house with a lot of love. You know, with my cousins and my brother and everything like that. Like everything's all good. You know what I mean? Like, but I don't know. Yeah, you go through all of those tough things, and I don't know, just kind of, you know, you realize that you're alone, right? You've just got to rely on yourself in a lot of aspects in life.
That's very true. It's very, very true.
I'm like that with my son, man. Do you know what I mean? Like, my wife, I'm pretty tough on my son. You know, like he falls over, like the other day, he running and just like stacked it. And then like my wife was like, oh, but don't pick him up. Don't pick him up. And you know what I say to him? I said, son, you know who's going to pick you up in life? Yourself. Get up. I did in front of a lady the other day. She looked at me like I was a bad dad. But like, you know, but that's the truth. You know, like shit's hard, man. Life's hard. Being a business owner's hard. choose your hard. You know what I mean? Like, you know,
Choose your heart.
choose your hard, man. Just choose your hard. Like, it's all, you know, at the end of the day, you know, in 20, 30 years time, you're going to either have done some shit with yourself or you haven't, you know, and the only person to blame is yourself. You know what I mean? I wasn't supposed to be this. I wasn't supposed to be this, you know, successful dude or whatever. But, you know, every day I just showed up. Yeah, I showed up. I did the work, you know.
When you talk about choose your hard, Jordan, for the listeners who are in their 20s before 30 that are looking to choose their hard to make financial success, what advice would you have?
Like, so I guess in real estate, like back to real estate, like just do the work, make the calls, have a plan, you know, put your money away. Don't spend it on Rolexes and fancy cars and all of that type of stuff, you know. Don't get caught in that. If you want to get into real estate because you want a Rolex, like just
Worse.
there's a lot more to it than that. You know, you want to be passionate about what you do. Be money smart, man. Like, you know, business is a game of finance. So no money, no leverage, know how to leverage yourself, you know, enough, but not too much, you know. Put your money away, be smart with it, you know, save at least 10, 20% of your money. But I think, yeah, I don't know, just don't get caught trying to impress people. I think people get so caught trying to impress people they don't even like. You know what I mean? Just be you. You know, if you like nice shit, like I like nice watches and stuff like that. I don't love them. I just like them. They're just things. You know what I mean? But for me, they're little war things. Every time I've got a nice watch or something like that, it's for something. It means
It's not
something.
for anyone else.
No, it's not ego. You know, it's for something. Like, great example, I've got this watch on today, and I remember when I was 21 years old, I made a promise with my best mate. You know, we were high at the time. I probably shouldn't say that, but anyway, we were high at the time. And I was 20 years old, and then I remember one day I was like, bro, we're going to get Rolexes. And, you know, I was like, we're going to get Rolexes. He was like, bro, you're tripping. I'm like, nah, we're going to get Rolexes. I was like, let's make a promise right now. And you're in the zone. I'm like, let's make a promise right now. By the time we're 30, we're going to buy Rolexes for each other. You know what I mean? And I got this literally a week before I turned 30. You know what I mean?
That's sick.
So, and I could have got it, and at that time, I think we bought 4 properties. You know, so I could have got it well before then, but I waited. You know, and I think, you know, pause and wait for what you don't just go out. Back to answering your question, Dan. Sorry. Don't just like go out and spend all your money and blow all your money on crap, right? Like just set goals. You know, big rocks, hit them, and then on to the next.
Yep. Off camera, you touched on. I hope you don't mind me sharing, but you're doing some developments with some business partners. It's very interesting because that's what we're, you know, like Manor Real Estate, we're all about actually collaborating with investments outside of Manor. What's the thinking behind collaborating with other people within the company with investing outside of the company? Because it never happens, really. You don't see it much.
I think I trust the people that, like, you know, business partnerships, or, you know, if you're getting into developments, like they're like little mini marriages, right? Like, you've got to trust the people that you're getting into business with. So the people that we're doing this development with, it's Jesse, one of my associate directors here, and his partner, Toby, who's my business partner for Strud Marketing, and his partner as well. And then Corey, who's one of our lead agents here. You know what I mean? And I trust them. You know, I'd actually trust them with my life, right? And the reason why I get them involved in these things is that, like, one person who's extremely wealthy, that's powerful. That's cool. You know what I mean? But you have 5 cats that are like really wealthy. You can do some cool shit. You know. So like for me, I just want to get everyone else who's with me like by my side. You know, not that I'm crazily wealthy or anything like that, but I mean, I just want to get all of them involved.
Is that why did you make or did you suggest to your teamers, because we saw some vision boards out there, are you the one that suggested for everyone to have that? Is that a requirement?
Ben, my head of sales, actually suggested that.
Okay.
But like, we're huge on vision. Do you know what I mean? Like, everything that I've ever achieved in my life, I've seen before I've done it. You know what I mean? Like, great example, sitting here with you guys right now, I already knew this was going to happen like a year ago. I put it in my bank. You know, I'm like, I'll go on that at some point.
Actually, I thought the same thing a year ago too.
Hit me up a year ago, you know? But yeah, I think visualization is really, really important. You know, I've always said, you know, Strud will be $1 billion a year sales business, you know, 25 mil revenue business. You know, we'll do that within the next 3 years. And I just see it clear as day, you know, and every day I wake up and I go towards that vision.
Do you think, like, now that you've got staff underneath you, sales agents, and they've put these vision boards in front of them, have you seen a clear change once they did that? Do you think that's a big reason why?
I think
Brings purpose?
It's a clear change, but I think it's keeping them accountable to it as well. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's all well and good to have the vision board. Some people don't even look at them, you know, but it's like in the times where, you know, you're down, for example, like, you know, if I'm speaking to one of my guys who's got $1 million GCI on his board, you know, I had it with one recently, and he was a bit down in the dumps. I'm like, bro, like, look at your board. You're going to be $1 million agent. Do you want to be $1 million agent? And he's like, yeah. I said, well, you put your big boy pants on, you put your socks up, and let's get moving, you know? Like, and that's how I speak to him. Like, you know, that's...
But it's the truth.
That's what you do, man.
But it's
like,
the truth.
Yeah, that's the truth. That's the truth, bro. You know, shit's hard. Life's hard. I don't know, keep saying
get
shit's
up.
hard, but it's just...
But you gotta get up and do it.
Get up, do it, get after it. You know what I mean? Stop being a bit... Like, man,
say
I'm pretty next level with my cats here. You know what I mean? Like,
you can run it.
yeah. I'll just say to them, like, I had it with one of my guys yesterday. Like, we got nominated for New Office of the Year for REB yesterday, which is pretty cool.
Congratulations.
Thank you. And one of my guys went for Rising Star, and he didn't get it. And I just literally said, and he was a bit like down in the dumps about it. And then I looked at him, and he said it to somebody else, and someone's like, oh, bro, it's okay, like blah blah blah, this and that. I went and I whispered in his ear. I said, you're being a bitch, bro. I was like, you're being, and I'm very close with this particular team member. He's like,
so you can say
this. Yeah, I'm not like, you know, I'm not ride the line, but I said, you're being a bitch. I said, don't you show that. Do you know what I mean? Don't you feel sorry for yourself. You move on, put your big boy pants on, pull your socks up, and you keep moving.
And you know what? That piece of advice there is much better than a cuddle.
Oh, 100%.
They need a slap. Like, I know, for example, when someone tries to cuddle me after something's gone wrong, it's like, oh, cool, feels nice. But it doesn't change anything.
No,
nothing changes. No. It's not until you get slapped. Until you get like that, until you get properly slapped and life slaps you and you go, hang on, or someone in your corner backs you and says, no, you're fucking wrong. You are way out of line. Get back. I think that's true leadership. That's not the cuddle.
No, and it's like, it's all out of love, right? Like when I'm having a crack at one of these guys, like great example, I'm not going to talk to one of my girls here and say you're being you've got to adapt to the different people. And I think leadership is like everyone just tries to do the exact same thing, you know, and you can't be like that. You've got to adapt to different team members, you know. But like I just try to be the person that I wish that I had in my corner. Right? Yeah. Like I wish I had someone saying to me, hey bro, like you're being a pussy here. Like what are you doing? Do you know what I mean? Get up off the ground and just keep moving, you know?
But not in a bad way. Like,
it's not in a bad way, you know?
Yeah, no, don't be a bitch. Get up, let's go again, let's fire, and let's double the business.
Yeah. Oh, 100%. 100%.
I know exactly what you mean. I feel I do the same thing with my guys as well. Like yesterday we had a situation where potentially a deal should have been done and it wasn't done because of a particular team member's stuff up in a report. It's going to get done today, but you know, William heard the chat, and I had a good word with him, and I said, like, hey, don't fucking we've gone through this many times. You've made this mistake again. It's not okay, but you need to understand you're in the transitioning phase of learning how to delegate and recheck. Yeah, 100%. You fucked up majorly, but we're going to bring this back in line. Understand this is a learning process. You're going to be better from this, 100%. But right now you fucked up big time. But get up. Let's go let's have a crack a day. Go spin it. Go have a crack. We'll fix this tomorrow. We'll get the deal done, which by the way we are. And yeah, it's a slap and then a cuddle at the end.
Yeah, I say slap cuddle a bit actually.
Slap and cuddle.
Yeah, slap. Yeah, it's funny, man. Yeah, it's leadership's a funny thing. Like I've learned. You know, I think one thing that I've always said at Strud is I always put the human before the agenda. You know, I think like every boss has got an agenda within a reason, right? Like, you know, like, but always put the human first. You know, like what's the human want to do? Is the human happy? The amount of times I run around here, like you said before, like everyone's happy in here, just because I walk around and I'd be like, hey, like Dan, are you happy? You know, you happy at Strud? You know, and like, but that's true. Like, it sounds a bit weird, but, and then they'll look at me and they'll be like, yeah, I love it. You know, I had one girl yesterday, she just started here and like, she was like, her energy was so high. She's like, this is the best thing that I've ever done. Like, I feel like this is going to change my life and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, bruh, just tone it down just a little bit because you're making it sound a bit culty. Let's just, but she just is so happy. And you know what she said to me? The biggest thing that she loves about this place is that everyone's winning and no one's bitching. Do you know what I mean? No one bitches, bro. Like yeah, I'm just not about that. Like I know real estate is very much like that. Like
high energy,
bro. High energy, and just like I said, be a good cat. Like you know, and just be straight to the point. Like as much as I'm nice and stuff like that. Like so, a great example. I I had this dude when I very first started Strud. He would say some shit about Strud and say shit about me. And I remember seeing him out one night, and I remember it said when he came, I was like, "Hey bro, what's going on?" Blah blah. And I'm like, "Bro, you don't do that." And I just looked at him and I said, "Hey bro, listen." I said, "I know we've got a lot of mutual friends, but I've heard you've talked a lot of shit, and I know that it's real." I said, "I'll shake your hand now. You apologize, and we're all good, and then don't do that shit again." Shook my hand, said sorry. We're all good since then. You know what I mean? Like, people always think they can get away with it. Do you know what I mean? Like, just call it as it is. You know, I think that's the way that you got to be in life.
My last question for you, Jordan, just being conscious of time, what gives you the most amount of fulfillment with all the activities you're doing versus is it the business, developing, the team, family? What is giving you the most fulfillment?
And just before I came here, I was on the beach with my son and my wife, and I said it to my wife yesterday morning. I say it to her all the time, but I said to her, as long as I've got you, Noah, and our baby girl, life's good. And life's just one big fucking game, baby. I said, that's the way it is. I just go out there, it's just one big game, and I play it. As long as I've got them, everything's all good. That's what the biggest fulfillment that I have in my life is, right? Because you asked before, like, what changed with my ego and stuff like that. I had all this ego, man. I was the most lonely cat ever when I was going through that ego stage. I was running 1.2 million a year, driving an AMG, had 3 properties, nice watches. Like, everyone thought I was cool. I thought I was cool, And then I look back and I'm like, what a dick, man. Do you know what I mean? And all of that bravado and ego was purely out of insecurity. I mean, the most biggest egos that you ever see are the most insecure people, man. You know what I mean? Like, so for me now, it's the simple things. That's where I get my fulfillment from. Because, like, no one, like I said to you before, at the end of the day, no one's gonna stand at your funeral and be like, "Oh, Dan, man, he transacted 200 properties a year," or Kev, "Oh, he had a team of 6 and was doing 3 mil GC." No one gives a shit on your deathbed. They're either gonna say he was a good person and he helped me in my life, or they're gonna say he was a shit cat. You know what I mean?
Correct.
And if they think you're a shit cat, they're not gonna be at your funeral, right?
Correct. My last question for you, Jordan, touching back on that ego piece, especially for the younger agents that, they haven't seen money before. You write $1 million, you write $2 million, you're like, whoa, this is life changing, especially when you're like 22, 25, 28. Seeing that sort of money, CEO sort of money at that age does create ego. You see it every day. But you were very lucky in life that you found a partner that has grounded you. What would you suggest to those young, up and coming, successful agents that are making coin that don't have someone pulling them back, pulling their ego back? And like they probably don't even notice it at the time too, because I bet you didn't even notice it, right?
No.
How would you explain or try to get into their head to say, hey, like over this podcast, because they're all going to be listening to this. There's going to be a lot of guys and girls that are listening to this that are driving AMGs and they're 25 and 27 years old, writing $2 million. They don't even realize they're being egotistical right now. What would you be saying to them if you're face to face?
Don't forget about all the people that were by your side before you became successful. Don't forget about your mum, your dad, your brothers, your sisters. But most importantly, don't forget to listen to other people. You got 2 ears, you got 1 mouth.
Yep. Mate.
That's what I would say. Because when I went through that period of my life, I remember my little brother and my mum, like no one would say it back then, but they say, man, I could barely talk to you back then. Because all you talked about was, I listed 23, I'm from the hood, man, I listed 23 properties in a month, mum, like, blah, blah, she didn't care. You know what I mean? How are you? It's something so simple. You know what I mean? Hey, bro, how are you? That's it. Not, hey, bro, I'm doing this and doing that and blah, blah, blah. So just listen. No one gives a shit, man. No one gives a shit if you do. Yeah, it's.
Why is everyone looking at me?
Yeah, because you know what the thing is, and the other thing too, and I'll say this too.
Say this to me.
Real estate is not your identity.
Correct.
Real estate is not who you are. It's what you do. People mistaken that. I used to think real estate was who I was. It's not. I'm Jordan. That's who I am.
Hell yeah.
I mean? So.
Hell yeah, bro.
Well, Jordan, thanks so much.
Thank
for
you,
your
brother.
time.
Man, you killed
Thanks,
it.
G.
Loved it. Thank you.